Yes, I hope I'm audible clearly to everyone. Yes, no. Okay, so what I'm asking, like those who are remaining to create a multi-module process, so please share the screen, any one of you. Or those who already done, so that is okay. Those who are remaining, so please share the screen, any one of you. So there we have to go for the steps how to create a multi-module Maven project. No one is there with their device.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I'm Sriram.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Somehow I can't attend the yesterday's class, ma'am. Can I get any recorded sessions of the yesterday's class?
So, and you missed yesterday session or
I missed only the
one
yesterday's session.
Monday or Tuesday session?
It's
Yesterday
Monday,
only.
Monday session.
Yeah. Okay, no issue in that case. So we are going to cover the Maven multi-module process creation. So that is okay. You will get idea how to do that. Okay? Because
Okay.
from today only we are going to start with the recording. It's not
Okay.
available
Okay.
for the first one. Okay.
And one more thing, ma'am. In my portal, I haven't viewed the teammates that I've posted, ma'am. I
So
can
related to
hear.
that portal, any queries there? So please communicate with the coordinators. Okay, for the portal, I don't have any idea about.
How can I communicate with them? With them?
I hope you are having some email address to pass the query with that.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, everyone, those who are remaining with the multi-module creation. So for that, what you need to do? So just go for a new Maven project you need to create. I hope this screen is visible to everyone. Yes, no. Okay. So see here, what we are doing here, just one project we created with name multi-module demo. You all are aware how to create a Maven project, right? Now this Maven project we want to use as a multi-module Maven project. So for that, what we need to do, just go for this particular project, pom.xml file. And within this pom.xml file, you will observe like the detail is given for the project. These are like what is group ID, com.learning, what is artifact ID, multi-module demo. This is version of it, and this is packaging. So currently the packaging value is given jar. Okay. In place of that jar, we have to make it pom. Reason, because this project we are going to use as a parent project, means rest all project will be sub-module of this particular. So we are going to use it as a parent project. So we have to go for, okay, you all are aware how to create a Spring initializer, how to use a Spring initializer to create a Spring Boot project. I'm using here the simple Maven project, but you all have to start with that thing we covered, right? Go to Spring initializer, pass the detail and generate the project. The project will be available in your downloads folder, and you have to import it. And after that import, whatever project you will get, for that project, you have to do some updates, like go to pom.xml file. And for the packaging, by default, it will be jar, but you have to make it pom. Okay. So this is how we are asking, like we are going to consider this project as a parent for the REST module. Or you can say REST all module will be part of this particular module only. Now, once we're done with that, so we have to right click on the project name, go for Maven. And here within Maven, you have to go for new Maven module project. By this, what we are doing? By this, we are going to create a new Maven project, but that Maven project will behave like a module of this particular project. Okay. So here we have to pass the name for the project. So suppose it's employee service. Pass the name for it and then observe like parent project name is the same what we are using here. Okay, sometime it may be different. Maybe by mistake you used a different folder name, so it will be. So make sure like you are clear about the Maven project, sorry, parent project, whatever is there, and then go for next. Okay, so in my case, it's already available, so I have to go for different. So I'm using here service employee. Okay, so that name in my project, the demo having already a service, that's why it's not allowing the same name. So you can go, if you are creating for the first time, you can go for employee service. So here we are passing finish. Once we will click on that finish, so you will observe at the bottom corner, is started to create the Maven project. It's creating a Maven project only, but the creation is coming as a new module of this parent project. Here we have to ask for the packaging, and then it will create a new. What the things are happening here, Maven is going to create a project. Maven is a build tool, right? And see, one new Maven project is added here as a module of this particular. Okay, in same way, you have to follow the same steps. And okay, one more thing we need to observe, like within the service module, we are having form.xml file. And within this form.xml file, we are having this parent tag. Just observe this. Parent means this service employee service or service employee, whatever is there, this project having a parent project, and that parent project detail is given here. What is group ID, what is artifact ID, and what the current version of it. Okay, so this is how the same steps you need to follow to create. Okay, you all are having the project detail. Requirement is there with you all? Yes, no? Yes, please reply. You all are having the
Yes,
project
ma'am.
detail, right? On which you
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
work. Yeah. So within that, some modules are given. Like you have to go for employee service, payroll service, or service, and one more is there that is common, and API gateway. So like we created employee service, the same steps you need to follow, and the same number of modules you need to create with the given name. Whatever names are given in your document, you have to go for the exact same name. Okay, be very clear about the naming convention. So in same steps you need to follow and you have to create it. Now, please let me know, is it clear how to create it? The Maven multi-module, or should I repeat or what? It will be better like everyone, those who covered in previous session, that is okay, those who are not. Okay, so you have to do, just go for create one module, make sure like you are aware, and you can do the same for rest. No, not required to go for all, just go for only one and make sure you are aware how to create it. Then let me know so we can continue with our session. Take your time, but once you're done, so let me know. Please, for the ID, or you can say the employee code, employee ID, whatever. And in same way, we are going to use private string data type and the first name. Okay, these all things you have to keep in our mind what different fields we are going to use there. If it is name, so we should go for first name and last name, because whatever fields we are using here, the fields should have the atomic value. Means you are talking about employee's name, or for anyone, we all have a single unique name, and that name having a first name and last name. Some are using first name, middle name, and last name, right? So once you are developing your defining your class, so that time you should keep these things in your mind, like some employees using first name, middle name, and last name. So for them you have to go with three different fields, or you can say three different data member: first name, middle name, last name. And if you are not going for middle name, so at least first name and last name must be there. If we will go for only name, one property we are using, so that name will use that value for the name will be multiple values, right? So at the time of storage within the database, it may generate an issue, because you can allow the user or admin to search for the employee list on the basis of last name only. Sometimes we are allowing them to search for employees on the basis of first name only. But if we will put for only one property like name, so it will hold first name and last name both. So it will be difficult to perform the operation searching on it. Okay, so that's why it's a very good practice, like whatever values field we are using, make sure they all holding any atomic value on. Okay, so in same way you have to go for email, contact number, date of birth, date of joining, okay, department, whatever is there. So these fields you have to pass. Just to explanation purpose, I'm using these on. You all are aware how to define getter, setter and all? Aware with the concept of getter, setters?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And constructors? So getter, setter, whatever number fields are there, for them the getter, setter must be there, and the constructor. Constructor, that will be both, means no argument and the parameterize. Have a habit once you are defining, and this is for not employee, whatever number of entities you have to define there in your project, every entity should have the property. Go with the private access modifier, define the getter, because once you will not define the getter, setter and constructor, it will show the issue. Once you will ask to a Spring to create an object of that, Spring is going to ask you, okay, you just forgot to define the constructor for that. So Spring related exception you will get. So just to avoid that kind of exception, have a habit like whatever POSO classes you are defining, no argument and parameterized constructor must be there. Okay, once we're done with all these things, so we are done with one class. Fine. So this is about Java class only. Okay, but what if we have to define them with the help of JPA and Hibernate? What the role of JPA and Hibernate here? So whatever class we are defining with the name employee, with this class, what we will do, why we are defining it? Because we will allow the user to create the account. Whatever value they will pass within the form, we will ask the employee, okay, you are a new person here, so just do one thing, define the entities, values for the detail. So within the form, they are going to fill all these value. Whatever value we are asking them within the form, and we will ask them to click on the create account or register, right? Something, some button will be there. They will click on it. See, try to understand how the links are there. If you will get idea, the same thing you will be able to implement for your project, and that you have to do, right? No option. So whatever things we are passing here, the properties, the same number, whatever fields we are passing here, the same number of fields we must have to pass here to read from the employee, like what is their employee code. Try to connect these three things, because these are the things where you have to deal directly. Every time for every entity, we will ask them for their first name, we will ask them for their last name separately. If you are using here first name, last name as two separate property, so within your form, two separate fields will be there to ask for the value. Whatever value user will pass here, okay, and they will click on this button, register or create account, whatever, sign up something. Once they will click here, so by code, we are going to do what? Whatever they will fill here, that all things we are going to store within one employee class object. Okay, so we will read all these detail with the help of API, and that thing we are going to store in one employee object. So this object will hold all the values, whatever we are going to get collect from the form. So employee code, first name, last name, email address. These 4 values are here, means these 4 value we are asking to the user. That's why in your POSO class, the same 4 values must be available. Means 4 fields must be there. Okay, I miss with the email, just consider please the email is here as a property. So whatever number of different value we are asking to the user, the same number of fields should be there in your POSO class. Okay, so this is one thing. Whatever value the user will pass with the request, that value we are going to hold within one employee object. And that object is what? Now this object having the value. And this value we need to store within our database, because user is going to ask you to register yourself. They will send a request with the data, and that data we need to collect within one employee class object. And that object, whatever data is there, that object we need to pass to data. Now then Hibernate comes in C. Java and database, these are 2 different things, right? Whatever value we are collecting here in employee object, we can't store the value after the program execution. During the program execution, we are able to hold the value, but after the program execution, we can't hold it. So for that, the database is there to hold the value. Hibernate is a framework that is helping us to store the value, and Hibernate we are getting by default with one dependency of Spring Boot, that is Spring Boot starter data JPA. Data JPA, that dependency is including Hibernate as an ORM tool by default. Means we don't require to add any dependency for Hibernate separately. It will be there in data JPA dependency only. Okay, but I'm just trying to explain how the things will work. The same thing you have to implement. So we need to store these all data in the database. So within the database, we will have one table, and that table is going to store the database values, whatever user is going to pass. And for that purpose, one tool we are using, or you can say one framework we are going to use, and that is ORM tool. ORM. O for object, R for relational, and M for mapping. Okay, that object is what? Object of your Java class. R for relation. What is that relational? That is your database table. And M for mapping. So it's going to ask you, like, whatever data class object you are defining, that is employee object. Okay, that object value you want to store within the database table with name employee. Okay, and for that you need to map these 2 things. Whatever values are here, we need to implement the mapping between these 2. And how can we do that? So with the help of ORM tool. O for object, that is your Java object, which is holding the actual value. Relational is a table where you want to store the values, and mapping is a process that we are doing with the help of Hibernate. Okay, so ORM tool is a concept. ORM is a concept. ORM tool is a framework that is implementing the concept. And the framework we are going to use here, that is Hibernate. Okay, it's not Hibernate only, but we are using Hibernate. So that's why we will discuss on the basis of Hibernate how things are working. So please let me know, is it clear about ORM and the POSO class creation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, that's good. Fine. So employee class, okay, within your program requirement is given for the second day, like you have to go for employee and role with the help of JPA and Hibernate. So for that, what we require, just read that. It's about JPA and Hibernate. So for that, you need to add the dependency within your process. That entity is employee, means you created the module with name employee service. Within that employee service only, whatever employee related things code you have to implement, you will place the code within employee service module only. So they are asking you, and as per the requirement, the client is asking you to go with the employee detail. You have to read the employee detail, means behind the scene, you have to create the employee class. That will be your POSO class. And within the database, you will have the class with the name employee table to store the data. Okay, so currently we are defining the POSO class with the properties, and now it's time to map the employee class object with the employee table in database. And for that purpose, we are using ORM tool. And that ORM tool is an Hibernate framework. Okay, now we are going to view like how it's going to work. So ORM tool is going to implement it with the annotation based. You can go with XML configuration only, but here we are going to use annotation. Now, one more point is there, that is JPA. So ORM tool is an Hibernate. You can go for any different also, but requirement is there for Hibernate implementation. One more is there, that is JPA. So ORM tool is required. Reason? Because we want to perform the mapping between these two, that's why it's required. Yes, we will go for the annotations also. And Lombok, yes, you can use, we should use the Lombok for the getter setter and constructor creation. Of course, you can use this, and we should use, we will see once we will go for the creation of it, but yes, we can use, and we will see the annotation also. Fine, so here what we are doing, we are going to use the Hibernate to creation of, to implement the mapping between O and R, that means Java class object and database table. The implement mapping between these two is required. Then only whenever we will ask to Spring Boot, okay, this is the employee record, and now you need to store that record within the database, and the mapping is there with the Hibernate, we already done. So Hibernate will get idea, okay, this object you want to store in this particular table. If mapping is not there, so within your Java application, good number of objects are there, and within your database, good number of tables are there. How Hibernate will get idea, like you are having employee class object, so that you want to store in employee table. You are having department class object, so you want to store it in department table only. How the Hibernate will get idea? For that, we are doing the mapping. Okay, 5 tables are there in database, so 5 classes are there in Java, and we will perform the mapping with the help of annotation. Then only Hibernate will get idea, like whenever we will ask to save one employee record, and for that we will do what? We will just call save method, and we will pass that employee object here as a parameter. So that object we are getting from the client, means from the HTTP request, and that object only we are passing to the save method, and this save method is part of the Hibernate, and it will do what? It will convert the save method, whatever object we are passing here, employee object, it will convert into insert query. Okay, I'm not talking about syntax. It will convert into the query, and with that query, it will fill the actual data, whatever is there in the employee record, and that query it will pass to the database server. And database server is going to execute the query, and it will store the values in the employee table. So we are not passing, once we are calling this save method, that time we are not passing the details of the table. We are just passing the, calling the save method, and we are passing the employee object. Then how Hibernate will get idea, okay, you are passing employee object, that means this detail you want to store in employee table. I hope you all are getting my point, right? That time Hibernate will not ask you like in which particular table you want to store the values. Reason? Because with the help of mapping, with the help of few Hibernate JPA annotations, we are going to map the employee class with the employee table. So from there, Hibernate will get idea, because if you have to store a new department detail, you will call the save method, and you will pass the parameter that will be the object of department class. Is going to hold the actual department, new department record. So every time we are calling save method only. But first one will save the employee record in employee table. The second one will save the department record in department table. So how Hibernate is going to get idea, like the first one is for employee table, the second one is for department table. How? So the mapping is playing very important role here, because we already share with Hibernate like whatever class we are defining here, that class you need to map with the database table, and that will be employee table. we will perform the mapping with the help of annotation. Okay, this is employee table. Whatever number of fields we are passing here, the same number of columns we have to use it. We must have to define. The same number of columns must be there. Okay, that thing we need to maintain. If some values, some fields you don't want to use as a column, so it's okay, don't use the annotation for it. So whatever number of fields we are passing here, and those we want to store in our database. So that time we have to define the employee table. We don't require to define. Hibernate will do that. It will create a table in your database with name employee or whatever you will pass as a table name. And whatever fields we are passing here, it will use those fields to use here as a column. And at the same time, it will get idea like you are mapping this employee class with this employee table. So that's why later, whenever we will call the save method, and we will pass any employee class object, like it's not new because it will hold the value employee object. So it will get idea, okay, that object you are passing as a parameter to the save method, that object is of employee class. And that employee class is mapped with employee table. So it will get idea in which table the record should be stored, insert. And it will perform this insert query on that particular record. Okay, so this is how the ORM is working here. Fine. So it is clear to everyone. So now we are going for next, and that is about the implementation, how the things we need to do. Is it clear? Is there any query? So please come, be clear with the concept, because if you are not clear with the concept, what Hibernate is doing there, why we are going for ORM tool. So maybe you will create the POSO class and you will add it, but you will not get idea about the flow. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to make you clear, why we are going for Hibernate, what is use of it. We are total 40 here, so please everyone reply, so I will go for next. Because your reply, by your reply only, I will get idea like things are working properly, you are getting the points. Okay, that's good. Thank you for reply. Now it is clear conceptually how the things are working. So we are going for next, and that will be creation of POSO class, and then with the use of annotations, we will map it. Okay, so please come with your, now I hope you all are there with your employee service module. Within that, you have to create an employee class.
Ma'am, will you provide the recorded session of this?
Session is on record. You will get the recording or not. For that, I can update you later. Maybe you will get that recording, but currently I can't say like it will be there for you or not. Okay, I will update on it.
Okay.
Okay, I hope screen is visible to everyone. You all have the module for with the name employee, and within that we have to create the POSO class. Those who are still remaining to create the module, so please do that, because the same thing, if you must be aware how to create a module, right? So employee service. Now you have to go with employee. So just ask to yourself if the data is related to employee. So in which service you need to store them, in which module, you will get the answer employee service, right? Naming convention is playing important role. So we are going for employee, and here we have to go for a new class. But wait, the Spring Boot is following a proper layer structure. So according to Spring Boot, whatever project you are creating, in that project, you have to go for few. Okay, currently it's a simple Maven project I created, that with the Spring initializer you will create. So you will get the package there. Okay, with that package, what we need to do, okay, this project I'm using here just for the explanation purpose. Okay, so you don't need to go for the exact, you have to create your own. Okay, so whatever employee service is there, within that employee service, you need to create a new package. See, org employee service is a default package that we are having. And within that default package, you are getting a class, right? That thing I explained. And within that class is, as I mentioned, it's a simple Maven process. That's why it's main method with the hello world. You have to go for a Spring Boot in Spring Initializer. And within that, you have to create a new package with name, group ID, and the get. See, org.employee service and entity. Entity is a package name. And within that entity package, we have to define a class with name employee. This is your POSO class. So within your package, whatever default package is there, except that default package, you have to create a new package with name entity, an employee, department, whatever. In every module, whatever different entities you have to define for them, you have to create a separate package for them. In same way for controller, service, and DAO. DAO means repository. For them, we have to define separate packages. Most of the time you have to go with the custom exceptions only. You have to throw the exception if something is like someone is going to ask you to update the employee record for the given employee ID, but that record is not available in your database, then how you can update it, right? So in that case, in place of updating any record, you have to throw the exception like no record is there for the given employee ID. So you will throw the exception in place of updating the record. You have to throw the exception. That exception will be custom exception. And few custom exception you require to throw as per the requirement. So that time within your project, a separate package you have to define to hold the custom exceptions. Okay, but that we will see once we will go for controller and service. Currently, just create a new package with name entity, and within that entity package, you will have the employee class. And within that employee class, we are going to define the value. Employee is a class name. Now we are going to add the properties here. Integer we are using. That integer for the employee code. Unique address, for the unique identification is employee code we are using here. And then the first name value. Whatever property we are defining, that must be with private access modifier. Okay, we will not allow any other method to use them. Only the getter, setter, or internal methods of the class will be able to use it, right? So it's a good practice to keep the properties as is private only. Okay, if you are going for contact number, you can use the long, or a string also you can use, no issue. We are asking for date of birth, and we will go for date of joining also. Okay, for that. Time is not required in date of birth. We have to go for date only. That timing you can use. Okay, now for the date, we are having Java SQL. Two packages are there for Java SQL and Java util. We have to go for Java util, means utility. From the utility package, we will retrieve it. Time is not required for date of birth and date of joining, so we can go for time. We will use for the record creation and record modification. For that, time is required. And date of joining. Okay, few more may be there that you can define later. Then now go for getter setter. Someone is going to ask you to define the entity. That means make sure like the getter setters and the constructors are there. Those who are not aware what is getter setter, so please make sure like you are going to get idea about that. One constructor parameterized that is going to hold all the fields whatever are there, and one with the no argument constructor with a super method. Okay, once we're done with that, so you can say the POSO class is completely defined, and now we can go for next. These all things we can do with the Lombok also. Okay, Lombok is a dependency that is going to help us, like you want to define the getter setter, so you just have to add the annotation for getter setter. Okay, but currently we are not using that Lombok. You can use it, read about the Lombok, and just need to do what? Just add the dependency. You are aware how to add the dependency, right? So within the pom.xml file, you have to add the dependency. Read about the annotation of Lomboks, you will get idea. Whatever getter setter we are defining here manually, these all things will be available just using the annotations with the class. Like here, for the employee class, whatever fields we are having for those fields, we want to define the getter setter. So in that case, we just have to go for annotation. Currently it's showing error for getter annotation because this getter annotation belongs to the dependency, and that dependency is currently not available in my project. That's why it's showing error. Once you will add the Lombok dependency, so you will be able to go for that. But I'm trying to explain, like just by using one annotation, we can avoid this lengthy code for the getter and setter and the constructor, no argument and parameterized both. Okay, so you can try for Lombok also. You should try for it. Fine. Now we're done with the getter setter and all. Class is ready. And now it's time to ask to Hibernate. Okay, these number of things are required for employee table or whatever different table you will create. For them, we will ask with some annotations like this employee class. For this employee class, we will ask Hibernate to create one table within database, and for that we have to go for entity annotation. Entity is an annotation that we are using to map this Java class with entity. That entity will be part of your database. Okay, if you want to create a new table with the same name, so keep it as it is. If you don't want to go for same name, you can use table annotation. With that table annotation, you can pass the name of your table, whatever you want to pass. Okay, so in that case, table annotation we are using. Currently, and for entity and table, they both are showing error because I'm just missing with the required dependency. So just in that case, what you need to do, just go to Google and search for Spring Data JPA dependency. If at the time of Spring initializer creation, project creation, you added that dependency, so you will not get error here. So how can we get the repository? So just go to Google and search for Maven repository. Okay, within that repository, whatever repository, whatever dependencies are required, they all are part of it. And go to Maven repository and just search for Spring Boot starter data JPA, and you will get that dependency, and you just have to make it available for your Maven project, and that's it. I hope you all are doing that, right? Go to Google and search for Maven repository. Within that Maven repository, you will get the list of the dependency of the application. See, this Maven repository is there. It's a remote repository of Maven. From here only you have to find out, right? See, Spring Boot starter data JPA. So we are looking for that. Within this starter JPA, Hibernate is there. See, data JPA with Hibernate. Okay. So from here we have to select the version for it. So for the Spring Boot, whatever we are using, go for accordingly. And here, Maven, Gradle, these all builds or build tools are given. We have to go for Maven. So and that is default selected. Just click on this box and it will copy your code. Okay. So from here, we need to copy this code, and then we have to move to the pom.xml page. And within that pom.xml page, we have to put this code dependency in pom.xml file. Okay. So here, within this employee pom.xml file, we need to add the dependency. Okay, see, in my case, it's already added. Okay, one more thing, like I would like to mention here, like whatever dependency version we are passing. Okay, currently what we copied, let me add here. See, this one we copied from Maven. I already added that. I just want to make you aware how to do. So go for Maven repository, search for the dependency and go for the particular version and copy that code from there and paste it here. Okay. So once you will copy it, so that version is mentioned, right? 3.3.11. If we will go for the specific version, so by this version tag, we clearly mentioned we are looking for this version only. Okay. If we will use the dependency without any version, so in that case, we are not mentioning like we are looking for this version only. So by default, Maven is going to maintain the compatibility. Means whatever versions are there for other dependency, accordingly it will use that version. We don't require to mention it. Okay, that's why the dependencies, whatever we are passing, for that we are not adding the version. Maven will maintain the compatibility and it will use that version accordingly. Okay, so you need to do that dependency from the Maven. Okay, what the name is Spring Boot Starter Data JPA. Okay, once we did with that, so come back with your employee class and there you need to make it available for your project C. Okay, wait. Fine, so dependency is there and now once you will go for the back to this particular error, so you will get what here, you will get one option to import entity from JPA persistency. See, this is Jakarta JPA means from the JPA the entity we are using, and same thing you have to import for the table. Now what? Now we added the dependency, so whatever related annotations we are using here, but we just need to add the dependent. We just need to add the particular class. We need to import it, and it will be available for us. Okay, so this is how the things we need to work now. Whatever number of fields we are using here. Okay, by this entity we are asking to Hibernate create a new table. If it is not exist there within the database, create a new table with this given name, and for that table you have to add these number of fields. So these all fields we want to use as a column in your table. If it is like that, like employee code we want to use there, so we have to make it column. And for that, the annotation we are using, that is column annotation. First name, we want to use it as a column in your database, so add the column annotation. If you want to go with the same name, so keep it as it is. If you want to change the name, so within bracket, you can pass the name value. Okay. See, here is showing error for employee table because I forgot to add the attribute name, that is name. In same way, if you want to go with a different name for the column, if you want to use AMP code, that is okay. If you want to go for a different, so use the name attribute and pass here. Suppose here I am passing employee and code. So name attribute is there to pass it. Okay, so this is how whatever number of column fields we want to use as column, the same number of fields with the same number of fields, we have to add the column annotation. Okay. If any particular we want to use as an ID, ID means primary key. Primary key is required because that primary key is going to recognize your record. I hope you all are aware with the concept of primary key. Yes, no. Primary key in database, aware with the concept of primary key?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you explain?
Should I explain primary key? What is primary key?
Yes, ma'am.
You are not aware. You previously worked with any database or not?
Not yet, ma'am.
How you are doing this project if you are not aware with database? Primary key, the unique identifier of your record. Okay, here we are total 40. And how the other person is going to recognize if any member they want to recognize within this course, you all are registered, right? For the training course, how they are going to recognize if any particular candidate with their enrollment number, registration number, yes or no? Because with the same name and same surname, and you can say with same full name, more than one person are there, more than one team members are there, how they are going to recognize? Unique identification is required, right? Then only you can recognize the person. So that unique identification is a primary key in database. The term is primary key. I hope it is clear. Yes, no? But still you want to read more, so just go for it. You should invest your time on it. Okay, so that ID we are using, ID is a unique number, right? Normally the auto incremented value, it will increase, suppose whatever number of record we will insert, it will increase the primary key value by 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. You can mention we want to start with 101, 1001 like that. Okay, so ID is an annotation that we are using to define a property, or you can say to define a field as a unique identifier of this particular record. Whatever object of employee class we will have, each and every object we can recognize uniquely with the help of ID. And whatever field, for which particular field we are using ID annotation, that field Hibernate will consider as a primary key of your table. Once it will create a table with name employee table, and that table will be mapped with employee class. So within this employee table, you need a primary key. And that ID, whatever field you are going to use ID annotation, that will be considered as primary key of your table. Okay. And for this ID, how different values, how many different ways are there to pass the value for that generated? We are using annotation. Can we cover that? Okay, this ID annotation we are using to make it available with ID. Just keep it simple ID. Few more ways are there, like, okay, for example, we want to go for auto-generated values, okay, or with the schema, whatever counter we are using, that we want to pass here, that you need to decide. As per your choice, you want to go with a particular, for that generated type, you have to define. That we will see with, but for this time, because you are new with the Hibernate, so I'm not going to go for all the annotations. With those number of annotation, you can create your table. You can map this employee class with the employee table. Okay, so what different annotations are there? Entity to map the class with the table. If you want to go with the same name employee only, so there is no requirement to go for table annotation. But if you want to pass a new name for the table, so go with the table annotation and use the name attribute and pass that name, whatever you want to pass. Same number of columns, whatever we are using here, same number of columns you want to use. So for each and every column, you need to use the column annotation. If with the same name you have to go, that is okay. Go with column annotation only. If you want to go with a different name, so use the name attribute and pass those values. Okay, so this is how the columns we are passing here. Once this code will go for execution within the database, as we are remaining to create the database, within the database, you will get a new table is created. Hibernate is going to do that. Okay, we are Java coder and we are working with Hibernate, so we don't require to type a single line of code of your database syntax. You just have to go with the Hibernate and it will do that. If within your database some tables are created with the same name, so it will use that. If it is not there, so it will create a new one, and the same number of columns you will get there. Okay, that we can verify once we will go for the database that is remaining. Okay, so now please let me know everyone. In this session, we try to cover what is use of Hibernate and how to create the mapping. This is one example for you for employee. The same thing you have to do for your project is asking you to go for employee and roles, right? So on two entities, you have to go for the annotation. Define the POSO class and add the annotations there. And don't forget to add the dependencies to use the annotations. Is it clear about it? We are remaining with the security configuration, but that we will do in next session. No worries. So that's it for today's session. Let me know, is it clear? And you all are going to implement that Hibernate and JPA for the entity creation. Any query? So you can come with the same.
Can you share record, ma'am?
For that, I already mentioned, you will get update on this. Okay. Okay, any other query related to Hibernate JPA or how to create the values and what is entity? For the entity, don't forget to go with a new package. Okay, have a habit because Spring Boot is structure, project is structure is going in this way on. Okay, fine. So if no queries there, so that's enough for today's session. In next, we are going to continue with security, how we have to implement the Spring Boot security. Spring security, that is again a different framework that we will use. And that we will try to implement with JWT, that is JSON Web Token, for that security purpose. Okay, fine. So that's enough. Let's meet in next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.